All right, we're stretching out, we're chilling, we're vibing, we're letting it flow, letting that feed hit that interwebs, that YouTube world, the Facebook world. Let it catch its breath. And
We're
3,
off.
2, 1, boom! What's up, everybody? The Bay Ragni Show is here, chewing the fat with my new friend. I am so excited by this. I got to actually meet my boy in person the other day, hang out for a little bit, see him play some killer tunes, get some free beers, which is a beautiful thing too.
Hey.
And I didn't even know about that. I just actually came to see him, and then I got hit with free beers. But let's welcome tonight's guest, the one and only Mr. Clayton Q to the show.
Thanks, babe. Appreciate you, my friend.
Hey, man. Dude, so it's funny because first off, hats off to you and thank you because I've been doing podcasting now. It's like 12, 13 years. Interviewed some of the biggest names, some of the littlest names, and you'd be surprised that probably 90+% of the people don't do what you did today. Clayton was down at the CMA Fest downtown Nashville, having a good time, and he just shot a quick video, 30 seconds of his time, promoting the appearance. It's just like the little things like that just it just means so much to everything. So how in tune are you? And I mean, just by doing that, I already answered my own question, but being an independent artist with the whole social media thing.
You have to want to do it. You have to love it because you're promoting your brand and promoting partnerships with other people that you have. You're promoting their brand. Anytime anyone has me on their show, I try to do whatever I can to promote it.
Right.
And I didn't think it was a big thing, but I'm glad that you appreciated that because I wanted to do it. And I think it's fun, getting different ideas. I'm not a master editor. I have an iMac sitting here with Final Cut Pro that I barely know how to use, but I don't have to use any of that. I do a lot of, user-generated content on my phone. I'm filming. I'm putting it together on iMovie or TikTok and putting it out there. And I think my fan base likes to see that. I think anyone's fan base likes to see posts from their artists or let alone their friends, so definitely social media is a huge part of, who I am online as well. That's how everyone gets to know me. It enables me to be part of the biggest publishing platforms in the world, which are social media platforms.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, it's literally doing that is a full-time job. So
it can be.
It absolutely, and the worst part is like doing that takes a lot of time, especially if you're going that extra step and you're actually editing videos to put out there and all that stuff. But the part that takes even more time, that's even more important, is answering and interacting with the fans. Do you get all involved in that as well?
Yeah. I get a lot of notifications. It used to be a lot easier. I could just go down and say, 9 people responded or commented or liked, and I need to go press the like button and say something back. Now I've got this professional dashboard on Facebook and Instagram with Meta, and it says, 3,900 people made a comment. I'm like, okay. So instead of clicking on each one of them, it shows all the comments back to back, and it says, do you want to, like. And then AI will tell you with Meta, which is kind of cool, I think. It says, this comment, this user said something about your guitar. This person said something about your hat. This person commented something that makes it seem like they know you personally. And it'll bring those comments up to the top, and, you can kind of go through those. And but yeah, you definitely want to make sure that you reply to your fans after they comment or say something to you.
Right.
Because they're giving you their time.
Yeah. It's huge. I mean, I've been learning, this past year on my Chubby Dudley Facebook page, doing that has meant so much to people. And it's, the people that do it often, that are commenting on your stuff, that really are supporting you build like these amazing like friendships with these people, and they love it. And I love it too.
There's only at the end of the day, when there's only so much of me to go around, I do try to make sure that everyone that gives me their time or wants to call themselves a fan, I want to try to make them feel like a friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let me tell you, I was driving down I-40 the other day, and or not too long ago, and took a call from someone, passed up the exit, realized I was about a mile past the exit, and I ran out of gas. All I had to do was put it out on Facebook that, hey, I'm was on the phone and I passed up the exit and I ran out of gas. If anyone's around and somebody that's a state trooper called up one of his buddies and said, hey, are you running this route? I got a friend that's out of gas. Guy come straight down, said one of his buddies let him know, and they picked me up and brought me to the gas station. I mean, power of social media, man. Didn't even have to call AAA.
Awesome. Well, how many times do you see, like I have a lot of, I'm more of a, hard rock guy, metal guy.
Yeah.
And a lot of my people in that community, I see it all the time when they get out on the road, they get in the tour bus like you do, and boom, they break down. And they're on social media, and they're putting them calls out on social media and them viewers. And next thing you know, boom, somebody's there to help them. It's amazing.
Yeah. When you're a musician or you're an artist or you're a mechanic or you're doing something that matters when people call you, it's kind of like a pay it forward community.
Yeah.
Most people, I would say, I try to find the good in everything. So I would just say, I would love to say that everyone is in the pay it forward community. I don't know if everyone is, but when you live to be in the pay it forward community to help someone else, 9 times out of 10, which is almost always, when you're the person in need, your friends or strangers that are in that community are going to try to come help you.
Absolutely. Speaking of the pay it forward community, there's a mutual friend that we have, good old Dawn. She says, hi guys. Like it's funny. You were telling me the story, and Dawn told me the story back when you guys first met in an airport. And the whole reason you're here today is because of Dawn.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just an amazing person. And you ended up in Philly, and she took you around Philly to the Rocky statue and all that stuff. And it's things like that. And she told me about you, and then we hooked up, and I got to meet you the other day, and here we are tonight.
That was great. Yeah.
So I mean, it's just the power of friends, community, paying it forward. It's a beautiful thing.
It was like a good recognized good. Like we were in the airport. We had this energy about us, myself and my lead guitarist, Randy Russell. We were leaving Sturgis. She come up. She had another friend of hers. We're kind of dressed like, we've been playing music. She was dressed like she'd been playing music or something, just out of Sturgis. She comes, she's like, oh my gosh, here you guys are. You look like musicians. Can we sit by you? We're like, yeah, come on, settle down. And just struck up a friendship, just became friends. It was great. It's really great.
It's amazing. Look, we're making her cry.
Oh yeah. We just become instant friends.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. So, all right, let's get to learn about Clayton Q, because you're new to my world. You started playing music early on. And something that I thought was pretty wild that I saw, you were playing the clubs when you were in high school.
Kinda. There was a local one close by. It was a dry town, so it was easier to play.
Okay.
When you're young, right? In the real dry counties, easier to let a young guy come in. But even when I was, out of school and into the college years. And I never drank. I let it be known that I didn't drink. And I kind of went to some of these places that had, different events or karaoke or something through the week where there wasn't a lot of people and I could get in. And when they would learn about me and know who I was, that I wasn't going to take a drink that somebody offered me, even though it was underage, or cause any trouble, then it was easier to get in on the weekends because the security and the door guys and the bartenders and the managers like, oh, that's Clayton. He ain't going to cause no trouble. Yeah, let him get up with the band,
Right.
Yeah, he can play on the breaks. Yeah, let's get him in here to play on Tuesday night. So it was a lot more about my character of who I presented myself to be, to being able to play in the bars under the age, 21.
Were you like the first time you went in and played? Was it just you and acoustic guitar? Like, what was it?
Yeah, I mean, I was real green.
Sure.
I went with a guitar. Didn't even have a plug-in in the guitar. Didn't have a jack. I put a microphone next to it.
Okay.
And played. I was probably very awful, but there were people in the room that supported me and were like, yeah, woo, Clayton, yeah, I wasn't known as Clayton Q. I went by my full last name, Quisenberry. So everybody, they would say, Clayton Quentinberry to the stage. Clayton Quizendingle. One time somebody said, Clayton Dingleberry to the stage. I'm like, okay, man. I've got to change this to the Clayton Q.
That's funny.
But it was years later down the road. But yeah, the first couple times I went in, just starting out for sure, just myself and a guitar and 2 or 3 chords that I knew how to make.
So those first few times you do it, well, even the first time, you must have instantly after doing it, no matter how bad you might have been, you loved it.
I did, and it's not that the first time that I played out at a restaurant or a bar that I was nervous or necessarily or was super terrible. My family and I grew up with playing music like a couple times a week with my family, my parents, my aunts and uncles around my grandma's rocking chair on the weekends in her little 3-room house in New Cypress, Kentucky. And so I was used to being around music and playing music in front of people and singing.
Okay.
I was used to being around it. And when I was young, I thought everyone did it. My friends were like, I had a friend live down the street. He come over one Saturday night. We're playing music. He's like, dude, what's going on? What are those? And I was like, well, that's a guitar. They were singing. He said, I never seen that before. I said, your family don't do this? I said, no, I've never seen this before. So I kind of just grew up. Around it, singing in church when I was younger. My father is a preacher's kid, only child. I know I got a real bad reputation right out of the gate, but I was actually a real good kid. And so when I was younger, my father taught me how to lead singing in front of the congregation at like age 10. Wow. So I wasn't necessarily a stranger to be able to sing in front of people. So that kind of helped, not have an edge of being nervous to play. But there's a few nerves still there, and I was green and wet behind the ears, but I was still learning. It was a new venture for me. And I sang at a town. I think the first time before I even played at the local pub, I played for a talent show my sophomore year in school.
Okay.
Yeah, that's on a VHS tape around here somewhere.
You got to dig that out.
I'll release those one day. I played on a documentary. So.
I was going to say that you got to save that for the documentary.
Yeah.
So when you decide to take that leap and go to that pub and do your first time, is your parents supportive? Family supportive of you?
Yeah, absolutely. My parents just loved it so much. They pushed me. They wanted me to. They said, please do it. Something that makes you happy that, it doesn't matter if I was good at it or not. They wanted me. It made me happy. Having a guitar in my hand made me happy. So my parents 100% supported that.
What like musical artist influenced you to start really going down that path, and maybe even it pushed you to go take that next level, to do that?
I'm going to go back to the previous question because, there there was the early 2000s. There were a lot of different. It was modern. It was a modern country era.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was for sure the George Strait and the Kenny Chesney and the Trace Atkins era. You know,
Okay.
that was what was mainstream. But what really pushed me, and I listened, but it was on the radio. We didn't have smartphones or YouTube or nothing like that. We had CDs and still some cassettes. But what really inspired me to go down that path was just, like I said, I grew up around the music of my family and
Wow.
my parents playing music and saying, "Hey, if this makes you happy, let's get you to, go to school in Nashville." I didn't have a wealthy family. I had to work real hard. I got a scholarship to college. I actually ended
Okay.
up going to an art school in Nashville called Nosy College of Art, and ended up getting a degree there. But it being 120 miles south of where we're from, it was easy to migrate to Nashville and still be close enough to come back home and visit my folks.
So you basically set it up with like a double-edged sword plan of coming to Nashville. So it sounds like you had it set. You got the scholarship, go to college, but while you're here, you're also going to dip your
Cut my
toes into
teeth.
the yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's
one feeds
smart,
the other. One
right?
feeds the other. It for a while they did. Worked as in marketing and uh, graphic design for quite some time. And then I figured out that I got tired of making edits for other people that didn't know how to do it themselves.
Sure,
Just,
I can
I'm going to
imagine.
do this for me and I'm going to focus on what my passion is, and that's music.
So how long before the music started really becoming the focal point over everything else?
Not knowing what to do or how to work in music, there was a lot of figuring out because you'd think that, these days I find that a lot more musicians and artists are a lot more hands-on with helping other people than paying it forward. Back in the
It
mid
was
two thousands,
still a
it
different
wasn't like
world
that.
back then. It was a
It
different
wasn't. It was
business.
doggy dog,
Yeah.
cutthroat. Hey, you got booked to play here. You're doing this. Can you get me in there? No, go talk to them yourself. It was no sharing, contacts or helping or open for me or whatever. It just wasn't happening. You had to make your own way. And the
Well,
first stage of just learning really how to communicate with people and how to talk with people the first few years in town. Um, I worked in a I ended up working as a booking agent in a different genre to
okay.
learn the ropes of the industry for booking
Okay.
and music management. I worked in hip hop music some.
All right.
So
Which you find kind of strange to be doing that out of Nashville.
yeah, well, I became like a local representative for an agency out of Atlanta who
Okay.
ended up having a lot of shows and college based fraternity shows here
Okay.
in Nashville and in like the tri-state area of like Mississippi, Missouri, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky,
Hmm.
Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, North Carolina, South Carolina. The SEC South, they call the Southeastern Conference, the SEC, had a lot of
Okay.
shows. And so I really learned uh, how to write a contract, a writer agreement. I learned sponsorship, procurement. I learned a lot of things about the marketing side of the industry.
Hmm.
Working in that role that I knew would help me along the way later on in life when I got ready to really take my career on a full time basis.
So you start doing that, but the weird thing is that I really want to touch on though with that is at that day and age in the early 2000s, you're this college kid who's starting to go into the music business out of Nashville, but Nashville was two things. Nashville was so different then, and the music business was so different then. Back then it was still really about major labels actually selling CDs. It was just a different business model. The internet was still very new. There was no streaming. I think people were still even buying tape cassettes at that point. Like,
Yeah.
it was just a completely different thing. And also Nashville. Now I've only been here for 6 years. Even in my 6 year span, it's completely different from when I first moved here. So what was like Broadway and Music Row and all that like down there compared to now? It seems like I see pictures on Facebook and it seems like it was like a barren desert almost.
Have you ever seen Fremont Street in Vegas?
No, not in person.
Oh, you haven't been? Oh man,
I've never been to Vegas.
24. It's 24/7.
Okay.
We're gonna have to get you to Vegas. Me and you'll go to Vegas. How about that?
Oh shit. Okay.
So, and it's 24/7. It's going all the time.
Okay.
And there's so many people. Well, Nashville's like that now.
Right.
The bars close at 3 a.m. They open at 10 a.m. Some of them open for breakfast at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
There's only 4 hours that it's closed, and there's still people walking the streets. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you could go downtown and everything, all the bars were closing at 11 p.m. on a Monday or Tuesday.
Really?
And it was just slow, and you could walk downtown, you could park for free and walk 2 blocks and go to the bar and see your friends and seeing the local hot band on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night at the stage. It was packed and everybody downtown was there because it was the only spot.
Wow.
You got 7 or 8 boot stores at that time.
Right,
now you got one. So, there's a lot of leather during that time, but it started, and then you had like a district that was like a younger district, like a hip hop district that was 2nd Avenue.
Okay.
So you had a different crowd over there. So all the different sections. Then you still had Midtown, but there was only like one bar, like it was Losers, and I think maybe Code Blue, and there was the Blue Bar, and that was it in Midtown. And now there's
really,
there's a bar on every. There's one property with a different bar on every level every 50 feet. So it's a lot different now. So everything started building up instead of out.
Tammy Joe says that's right. So how about yourself though? Did you get into? I mean, it sounds like in those early days it really was not much of a. It was more by chance maybe get in there to, like you said, the stage. But as it was growing, did you get involved in that whole world down there, or even in the last few years?
I played at Tootsie's when they were first starting. Now they have what's called Honky Tonk U, and all the artists and the bands all go through this Honky Tonk U and, work for Tootsie's and all the bars as a corporation that they have as a business. But at that time, it was just, you go and you sign up to sing, and if they like you, they want you to come back and sing more. I sang downtown with another group of guys, another band, for like maybe 3 or 4 months. And during that time, I was still kind of like cutting my teeth, learning how to play guitar, still learning new things every day, and learning how to sing and learning new songs. And just there was a lot of watching and being a fly on the wall to see how business was conducted in the industry. And I did get into that. And then right around 2016, 2017, the band that I started at that time, we got into playing downtown. Okay. We were the first band to play on the 2nd floor, Redneck Riviera, John Rich's bar. I made a connection with John Rich years ago, became friends. So he had us play the Redneck Riviera on 2nd floor. And then for the year anniversary, we played there. And it was pretty cool because we got to play after, I call it a headlining show, but he was there with Lone Star, and then he played and introduced us. And, that was pretty cool. So we played there in Fanfare at Redneck Riviera before, and played a few other places downtown. But as we grew up, and as I grew as an artist, it downtown is a great way to make a living as a musician and a vocalist, someone singing with the band, and you can fit a few of your originals in there every once in a while. But people don't necessarily respond to the originals. There's no control of the bars and the managers controlling if your original music's good or not. So they want you to play songs that people have heard because they can control that. It's predictable. They want to be able to be predictable. So you got mostly 99.9% of the time you have to play, cover songs, and that's great. It's a great way to make a living. If you got to be very intelligent to know all those songs without looking at the lyrics.
You're basically a human jukebox.
You have to be. The people that play on Broadway, I have the highest respect for. You have to be so freaking intelligent to remember all the lyrics to a song just right off of that. And you have to know hundreds of songs. Yeah. The top song that just came out yesterday, you got to know it today to make that 20 at the tip bucket. And that's something that I would definitely struggle with if I were down there. I wanted to make, at that time, Nashville was still growing. There was an opportunity. We saw an opportunity with my band to go out and play festivals and venues and opening spots for other artists. And that's the avenue that I took because we were here in Nashville for several years. And it wasn't necessarily about the money. There's good money downtown. There can be good money out on the road. There can be less money out on the road and more of like a break even or a loss. But we got out of it what we put into it. And I put 100% into just loving the experience, just probably like you did with wrestling. There's probably some times where you didn't necessarily financially profit, but you love it so much. You spent time with people that you love. The energy was great. You got a free t-shirt. You had dinner with your friends. You had some camaraderie after the show. You kicked it in the hotel lobby. Yeah. All of those things are things that you benefit way outside of monetary. And and we got tight. We played a lot out on the road, and so I definitely love playing downtown, but I really was able to grow as an artist and discover more about who I am when I was able to start touring the country.
So at what point, before you moved here, were you already writing your own original stuff, or is that something you started doing when you got here?
I wrote a few songs when I was younger.
Okay.
Learning how to write a song. They weren't necessarily the best songs, I guess, for commercial grade. But for me, that's something that I didn't necessarily have direction in because, like you said, the industry was different during that time. You had everyone, the labels and people industry. If you don't produce your own version of what's already out on the radio, then you're not going to make it in Nashville. Right. And that was the message at that time. It wasn't so celebrated that you could write a song in your own way and put it out and everyone would love it. Because if it was different, you didn't have a way to stream it. You had to have it on a CD. Well, then you couldn't play it if you didn't have a cordless stereo to carry around to say, hey, listen to my new song. Right. Let me put it in the CD player at the bar. Right. And you couldn't play it at the bar because they want covers and you can't play your original music that you just recorded, then you're SOL. So the message was a little bit different, a lot different back then. Now I could write a song with two verses, maybe not even a chorus, and put it out, and it's independent country. And people would love it because it's something that I'm doing from my heart. Yeah. And it's celebrated.
So, okay. So when you get here and you start getting into the whole thing, who was like the first name in the music business that you come across and strike up like a friendship with and start collaborating or something?
Well, the first person that I met in country music who is a big name now, when I was in college, I got a job working at the mall at Rivergate Mall in
Okay.
Madison at a retail clothing store.
Mm-hmm.
And my manager was Kip Moore. And Kip Moore, huge first single, Something About a Truck. And you need to look that up if you don't know who he is.
Okay.
He's a great guy and great talented songwriter. And he was pushing like I'm pushing now. And he was the manager of the store. And I had recorded a song. And I told somebody there that I was record a song, a songwriter, and they said, "Oh, our manager's a songwriter." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." He's like, "Hey, man, yeah, bring your CD in." I brought my one song CD in, and at the end of the night, when I worked the shift, he would play his music, and I thought it was just the store music. It was his album. He started putting my song on.
Oh shit.
Super cool, man. Super guy. Big shout out to Kip Moore, man. Motivation from the get-go in 2005.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Very cool guy. And, I started going. John Rich used to have these music mafia parties.
Okay.
Music mafia. And I started going down there. And again, I wasn't old. One of those stories, I wasn't old enough to get in. So I walk up to the door and I hand him my ID, and this big guy named Steve, he's like, "Oh, you can't come in here. You're not 21. I'm like, "Oh man, I really want to get in there. I've got to find a creative way to get in there." So I left for a while and I walk around and I go back and there's music. I noticed that there's musicians coming and going, and they're coming and playing. Then they're going outside and they're coming and playing. They're going outside. And so Gretchen Wilson was just popped with Redneck Woman right about that time, 2005, 2006, something like that. So she just popped Redneck Woman. I see her walking, and she puts down, she's got some cases or something. I walk up and I said, "Hey, Gretchen, let me help you get that." And of course, I knew to go down there and dress like I'm an artist, right?
Yeah.
I was dressing my cowboy hat and stuff. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, hey, that's cool." So I'm walking in, and I walk straight into the back door. And it's a place called 12th and Porter, which is where Whole Foods is now. And or Syrian, somewhere, one of those stores like that. And it's there now. But it was a small venue, and they would rent out, or they would have the venue. And Bud Light would be a sponsor, and they'd give everybody drinks. And John would have him and Big Kenny and all the people that were there playing music and guests and people painting. And I mean, it was just, it was really cool. It was like a big show, really good show. And like it's kind of like a carnival going on inside. So I got to hanging out. And then when I left, I walked past security. I said, "See you later, Steve." Kind of like, haha, I got in. So the next week, they would have this like every Tuesday. The next week, I'm coming back in. And I see the security guy, and he's like, "Oh, it's you again." He's like, "You gonna sneak in here tonight?" I said, "I promise I won't cause any trouble." He's like, "Going in." And then every week I was 19. I was getting in. I was probably the youngest guy in there, but I wasn't drinking. I wasn't causing any problems. I got to know, John Rich. He was very nice, great person to be friends with, and his career is still growing around that time, and he was a good person to be around. And I got to know him through the music mafia parties, really.
That's
and
awesome.
Then see him down at downtown and around, and he'd recognize me, and they'd be walking and along the sidewalk, and I would see him. I'd be downtown and see him, and I'd just kind of like walk over and hop in line and be like, "Oh, hey, what's up? It's Clayton." And I was the guy that was walking with John Rich in his party, and that was cool, man. He didn't mind that. He was cool. He was cool with me being around. So I would say that's the big personality number 2 country singer that I met.
So as this stuff starts happening, you start growing up as a person, and also starting to get into this scene. At what point do you say to yourself, like you said, you're still very green, you're new to Nashville and all this, you're still a kid, But is there a point when you said, because at this point you still got to be feeling like, do I really belong here? Is this really my calling? Am I really going to go down this path of music? Is there a point where you say to yourself, I fucking belong here?
every time. Now, I come from a real small town with a 4-way stop in the middle of town, and I grew up kind of in a rural area, and then I went to the next county to go to high school, and so both areas are real small. Excuse me. And every time I stepped out of my house to go exploring in Nashville, I felt like I belonged there.
Wow.
Every day I felt like I belonged here. Even when I was, rushing around and getting a speeding ticket, and I got, tickets and stuff. And even when bad stuff would happen to you, got in a car accident or whatever, it's like Nashville's a lot more traffic. There's a lot more stop and go. There's been tough times. There's a lot of tough times, but I always felt like, I'm twice today what I was yesterday, and that'll help me believe that tomorrow I'll be twice tomorrow what I am today. And so,
love that.
Yeah, man.
So okay, so you had this band situation going. At what point then do you just say, all right, it's Clayton Q time?
Well, I wanted to start my band when I stepped away from working and booking for other artists in the hip hop scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of plateauing for what I was, working with them. I decided, okay, I'm gonna start my band, and I had rented a house with a detached garage, and someone that I knew used to have a nightclub, and they donated me their old PA system.
Wow.
And that was super cool. This older gentleman that had the same last name as me, and I was distantly related.
Wait. You found another Quisenberry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bill what are the chances of that?
Bill Quisenberry, he managed Tim McGraw from like 1989 to like 1992. And then he managed David Allen Coe, Johnny Paycheck, Confederate Railroad. And he managed David Allen Coe to like 2006 when he retired.
Wow.
And I'd heard his name several times, and I emailed him in like 2006. And in 2016, he replied. What? He never logged into his email 10 years later. Said, hey, if this is still active, give me a call. And
no way.
Lived outside of town. Yeah, lived outside of town. And, of course, I got to know him. And, he's older. He had some horses, went out there and helped him on his farm. And I told him I was starting a band. He's like, well, you got a PA system? I said, no. He's like, well, I got one out there in the barn that come from my club in Oklahoma in the 80s, but it's kind of outdated, but you're welcome to it. And I had this huge box PA system with 18s and 15s and monitors and rack system and amps. And I bought a little 5x8 enclosed trailer, and I had my truck, and we were rolling 4 deep with my enclosed trailer to these bar gigs out in the middle of nowhere, 4 hours away, playing for 4 hours for $300 and 300 and some tips, and those were really fun times, all squeeze in, sometimes 5 of us squeeze in to my crew cab truck and a little enclosed trailer. And those are really fun times. If you think back, remember when you started out. But we practiced in my garage, and the neighbors, maybe we weren't. It's kind of like, if you remember the Wonder Years, mm-hmm. when Kevin starts a band, and at first they're like, they suck really bad, and then but after some time they're polished and they sound decent. That's kind of like what it was like. It was like it took some polishing, and the first we played the first couple gigs. The first gig, Drummer forgot his drumsticks, broke 2 guitar strings. You know, the kickstand, no, the drum pedal breaks. You got a flat tire. You know, the air went out of the van.
Everything,
All these things happen the first time you go out. You
everything
don't
goes
have
wrong.
any extra strings. You know, you got to play first song. You break 2 strings, and you got to play 3 hours and 45 minutes more. So I've had a lot of those first, man, and a lot of great times with that.
Now,
So
was Randy with you at this point? Your brother
Randy was
Randy?
not with me at that point. My
Okay.
first lead guitarist was a roommate and longtime friend of mine, Johnny Montoya was his name.
Okay.
Not the Johnny Montoya, but the Nashville's Johnny Montoya.
Okay.
And is a great friend of mine, and we wrote some music together. And let's see, bass player. I had a guy. His name was Fate Melton. And we had another guy, Mike Anderson. Dakota Nielsen was my drummer. We had we just started developing over time. We were developing over time, and band members will come and go, but you stay friends with them always.
Sure.
In Nashville, you don't burn any bridges. You always keep it open. So if you ever need someone and your new band member can't make it, the old guy kind of knows your stuff or your set list, and it can set in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very important in Nashville, that you don't tell anyone where to go when they're walking out the door. You ask them to come back when they can. That's very important.
So, at what point do you then start actually releasing music?
I had the first couple of songs that I ever released. I used a session band because I didn't have my own band. So, first release 2005 session band.
Okay.
2010 session band. 2011 session band. But the release just on CDs and on YouTube, and that was it. Spotify started to exist around 2014, 2015, something like that, 2016. But it wasn't something that was so prevalent that an artist felt like they had to put music on there.
Right.
iTunes existed, but it was still selling for 99 cents. And where you got 70 cents, you might sell one a month if somebody liked it. It was a lot easier to sell a tangible product like a CD, something someone could hold. The very first CDs or album that I put out with 5 songs that I recorded, which I didn't have with my band, I had the session band. Which session band's great. The session band are people that play on Music Row for bigger artists.
Sure.
And they do it for cash or part-time. And you'll get someone that's been out on the road with Kenny Chesney and Trace Atkins and somebody for like maybe freaking Florida Georgia Line these days, or Luke Combs. And then they get off the road and they're not touring, then they'll go in and they'll run a session band, for Clint Black and people that are playing on the Opry, and they'll go in and they'll play 5 or 6 songs. They'll learn to see a chart, read the number system, and never heard the song before, play it 3 times like they've been playing it their whole life. And then they engineer, masters it. And then 24 or 48 hours later, you got a product that sounded like the band practiced for a year and went in and played this thing. And so that's what a session band does. So my first album I put out wasn't my band. But I had an opportunity to play in Fort Campbell at the military base for a special concert, and the headliner was Hunter Hayes.
Okay.
And so I wanted to have a way to get my music into the hands of so many people, but I didn't have any music out on the platforms, and it was going to take so much time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to a local car dealership that did not have the rights to advertise on base because another dealership had the rights.
Okay.
And I went to that dealership first, and they didn't need my opportunity because they were already there.
Sure.
So I went to this other dealership, and I proposed if they sponsored the cost of 5,000 CDs, that I would put their logo on the front of the artwork and their contact information of their sales team on the inside, and I would pass them out to all 5,000 people that I thought would be there. And at the end of the show, we stood in a meet and greet line and handed them out, and there was over 10,000 people there. I think it was close to 15,000 people. And we stood in a meet and greet line and took pictures for 4.5 hours. Hunter Hayes had already played, packed up, and went home, and we're still in the meet and greet line immediately following our concert. And so that was a super awesome opportunity to play there, play for our nation's military, play for the people of Western Kentucky, open for a bigger artist, and get my music into the hands of now fans, future fans, and current fans.
Well, so, okay. So, and you just struck on something that I wanted to bring up. So now's the perfect time. And I noticed this instantly the other day. Okay. When I came out to the Harley Davidson dealership that you were playing at, and you had your guy come around, he was handing out cards with your sponsor on it. The generator.
Yeah, Furman Power Equipment.
There you go. So I said to myself, there it is with the QR codes, 30% off. I said to myself, this dude, he knows what's going on. And then in between songs, you're talking about another one of your sponsors that's a couple tents down, Red Wing Boots.
Yeah.
I was like, my man.
Yeah.
So, and you're saying right there, you were saying about at that performance, how you got the car dealership to sponsor you. Are you the person that does all this stuff yourself? Do you have a team?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
I know,
like for myself.
And again, when we talked the other day, you said, all right, well, I'm going to do the interview from my office. And I said, oh, look at this. The guy's got an office. He's not going to do it from home. He's in his office. So Clayton's, this is where Clayton is not just musician, star, artist. He's businessman. He knows business. Because that's how, and seriously, and this is like no bullshit aside. This is now where all the young kids that are watching this part of the show, this is where you learn. And if I can go back in time and talk to young Bay, who thought he was going to be a rock star, I had no concept of, when you're talking about it and people say, and this goes for whether it's music, wrestling, TV, movies, you seem to forget there's a second word that follows up after those words, and it's called business. Clayton seems to have learned that part, and he's handling the business as well.
Well, something that if there's anyone watching who's an artist that I can teach something to, I learned at a time when we were starting to play festivals that when we played bars, they give you $300 cash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even if they did write you a check, it would clear the next week, right? So $300 or $400. If you were to be paid a check that's north of a couple $1,000s, well, then the bank needs to hold that check if your balance doesn't cover that, right?
Right.
So the business that would be able to write a check like that, it doesn't want to give an individual person because of taxes.
Sure.
So they have to expense it, and they cannot expense, especially the government, cannot pay an individual for coming and performing. They have to pay a business for coming and performing at a business, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to get a tax ID as a business in order to not only play their larger gigs, the larger shows, but to level up. You have to be able to conform to business practices
right
on a larger level, because you're going from making whatever 10% or whatever the bar made for the night to making, a set fee that's decided by a board of people, and they have to write that off on their expenses by the end of the year, and they can't do that by paying you based on your social security number, because then they have to claim you as an employee and cut taxes like that. They don't want to pay you FICA, FUTA, SUTA, Medicare, Social Security,
Mm-hmm.
and state tax on what they're paying you as a paycheck, because then you could say you're an employee. Oh, well, they didn't pay me any more checks. There's all kinds of things that could happen if they paid you on a personal level. So they have to pay a business.
Right.
Once you become a business, then it levels up your ability to approach other businesses about endorsements and sponsorship, because then they have a legitimate way to put it on their books that they paid you for something for your services. And if I can pass that along to any other musicians watching, that's me paying it forward to you for knowledge that you might not even find on YouTube, or another artist that you look up to might not tell you that's something you need to do, and start a corporation to level up yourself to broaden your career.
Were you the one, like, after that car dealership experience, was it you that said to yourself, okay, I need to like do this more to help grow my career and business?
Yeah, that was the largest. I didn't make any money off of that transaction, but it was the largest deal of that time that I had done to promote myself. I think that was really the first time that I was able to use anything that I learned about marketing hands-on on that level.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's go even a step
After
further.
that, I figured, after that, the experience, I thought, you know what? I can eat and play music at the same time. I don't have to play music for free. So,
how about that? Well, I see now you made me lose my question.
Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. You had a great comment, so it was worth it. All right, forget it. Well, let's throw this one out there. So as I'm going through the interwebs and researching Mr. Clayton Q, I come across some pictures of you and a mutual friend that I've interviewed probably a half dozen times over the years.
Really?
I haven't spoken to him in a couple years. And then I also saw, as I was going through your Spotify, the General Lee on one of your songs, my good friend, Mr. John Schneider, Bo Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah. Had the opportunity to open for John Snyder and tour with him as his opener. His wife asked me to come out on tour with him on his awesome extravaganza tour, and developed a great friendship with John and his late wife, Alicia, and his current wife, Dee Dee. I met Dee Dee before he introduced me to her, and we became friends. And then when she learned that John and I were friends, that was serendipity. But John is one of those other great human beings that
he's amazing.
You become friends with throughout your life, and just a good, solid human being. Major actor, superstar, been on the red carpet, could call right. Didn't have to call anybody, could just show up and go somewhere. Major superstar status celebrity, and he's like the guy that's living next door in the neighborhood when you talk to him.
Yeah.
He's very humble, not full of himself. He's a good guy.
He's one of the hardest working people probably in the business too.
He is. He keeps at it all the time. He's constantly working consistently.
Always. Yeah.
Super cool.
Good dude. So again, going through, I saw numerous videos of this, and it's probably one of the hardest things to do. People will say this, which you've done, and also throwing out the first pitch at a baseball game, but performing the national anthem.
Yeah.
I mean, is that one of the things like you feel like the utmost stress and pressure to do?
People act like it is, and it can be just like if I say, okay, we're going to bring you here to sing, we're going to bring you here to sing a song that's from your church, right? You don't sing it all the time. It can be a lot of pressure. There's a lot of people on you.
Sure.
It can, and you have to. We took professional steps to prepare, even though it's the shortest song of all the songs I've sang in my catalog. It's a song that represents our country, so you have to make sure that you're prepared for that. Even though I know the song on my heart right now, I would want to prepare to sing it on your broadcast if I knew ahead of time that I was going to be singing it. So it's definitely something that can be nerve-wracking if you're not prepared for it. But you have to. We made sure to prepare ourselves. And Don King saw my broadcast, my performance on his business. One of his business partners, Jimmy Adams, owns Jimmy Adams Promotions, who owns Country Box, which is where they have boxing and then they have country music. And he saw us perform on that broadcast, and had his assistant John Musianis call me, and Jimmy called me on three-way and said, "Hey, Don King's having his fight down in Fort Lauderdale, the Hollywood Casino. It's pay-per-view and heavyweight Brahms fight, and Don wants you to come sing the national anthem." And it was just the highest honor to do that, because the Marines were there holding the flag and standing next to Don King right in the middle of the ring. And this is what's funny about that, is that I got the call at 11 o'clock at night on a Friday.
Okay.
Said, "Hey, we need you to fly out in the morning at like 7 a.m. So I said, "Okay, I'll call Randy." I said, "I want Randy Russell, my lead guitarist, to go with me to play it. And he's going to play it. I'm going to sing it, because we do that all the time."
Okay.
I've had him play it Jimi Hendrix style on his electric guitar at many shows. And so they said, "Okay, I'll call Randy." He's not answering. Of course, it's 4 a.m. It's 11 p.m. at night. We're supposed to head out 4 a.m. It's 11, 12 o'clock. Maybe it's midnight. I'm at Waffle House when I get the call. I'm calling. So I call his roommate, the guy he rents a room to. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, Randy's asleep." The other guy's like 65 years old. He's like, "What are we calling me at midnight for? I got to work tomorrow." I said, "Go wake Randy up right now. We've got an important opportunity." So he goes in there and he says, "Randy," he said, "Man, what are you calling me for?" I said, "You got to get ready right now. We're going to the airport at 4 a.m. He said, "What? Why?" I said, "Don King wants us to come sing the national anthem in Fort Lauderdale tomorrow. We got to leave. We got to be at the airport at 4 a.m. And he's like, "Well, okay, I guess I'll get up and start getting ready." I said, I'm gonna leave Waffle House, go home and get the guitar, my cowboy hat. I'll be at your house. Be at your house in 2 hours.
That's hysterical.
And we flew out at 6:30. We got there. As soon as we got off the airplane, we went straight to the venue to sound check. Went to the hotel. Massive traffic down there. Just cleaned up at the hotel and then got taken back to the venue till the fight happened.
Wow.
I mean, it was just go. But it was an amazing opportunity. Wanted to tell you that story, how rushed that was. I thought that was fun.
That's wild.
But amazing opportunity to sing, the Star Spangled Banner, our nation's anthem, on pay-per-view, standing next to Don King and a representative from the United States Marines. It was awesome.
I mean, just being that close to Don King is experience in itself.
Yeah. Don's a cool guy. He's a really cool guy. And word on the street is that he might bring us back out in August to go to another fight somewhere and sing the national anthem again. So I'm hoping that comes through.
That's wild. So all right, let's start diving into the music, because as I was going through today, I was going through, which we talked about, Spotify, and a song really jumped out at me, and it was different from the top 5 on Spotify, and it was Save Myself, and I was like, man, this is a fucking beautiful, deep song, man, and it's off the beaten path from the other ones.
Yeah.
What brought that one on and out for you to actually?
2009, I wrote that song inspired by my Uncle Jerry, which is my dad's brother.
Okay.
And he suffered from some alcoholism.
Okay.
And he was losing his liver and his life and everything in his life due to the bottle. So I really wrote that. It was inspired from him. And at that time, I wrote that from the heart. Going back to what I said around the time that I was cutting my teeth in Nashville, and if it wasn't mainstream, then whoever was advising artists would tell you if it's not mainstream, it's not cut out to be released. I was told by a professional music advisor at a very big agency downtown Nashville, Music Road, that song did not make any sense and that I should keep working on it as it is. I should keep working on it or rewrite it all together. Take a couple of the words and lines and rewrite it all together, a different idea. Became discouraged, put it in a folder, never brought it out. It's 2020. The world shut down due to the COVID pandemic. I'm going through my computer. I'm looking at folders. I'm looking at songs. I'm like thinking, man, this song is an acoustic demo that I had. Really resonates with what's going on with the COVID pandemic.
Right.
So I had, at this point, had a great working relationship with the studio engineer that I've been recording with. And I called him. I said, hey, is there any way that I could record a song? You could help me put together a few pieces on this song. Now, I mean, I have my band, but it's COVID. No one wants to go anywhere. We can't go out and go anywhere anyway. The guy who owned the studio was a little bit older. He had grandkids. He was around. He didn't really want anybody in there. I said, is there a way that we can kind of get some stuff recorded remotely? I just want a light percussion, a cello, and a just a little accent of some kind with a piano. I had guitar, but I'd rather have piano. He said, yeah. I sent him the demo. He got Charlotte Marks to play the piano player from the Opry. Okay. Her husband, Carrie Marks, guitar player from the Opry, to play the cello and percussion on it.
Wow.
And he had threw a few other bells and whistles on that and mastered it. And he sent me the file, and I did go into the studio and record the vocals, and all of this was done and mastered remotely. So I had the song, and I want to say this right here, my first 1 million streams on anything ever that I ever released come from that song, my first 1 million. And
that's freaking awesome.
I have the lowest. I had put money into online promotion and YouTube and tried to put stuff out there, and it didn't go anywhere. And we're all stuck at home all over the world. And I put this song out, and 4 weeks later, I had 1 million on this song. And so the people resonated with it. So I decided to try to make a music video. I have some friends that in music video production. They said, hey, we're going to be coming through Nashville. Have you got anything? I said, man, I actually do have a song I want to film a video for. I had an idea and a concept. I don't know if you've seen the video for it. I'll send it to you if you haven't. And so I developed this concept. I reached out to a few friends that had the things that I thought I could incorporate in the video. And I'll let you watch it and ask me about it later. But my uncle owned a barber shop. I had an aluminum table from IKEA. We cleared everything out of a corner, made it look like the embalming room at a funeral home. A friend of mine had bought an ambulance from a local auction at a hospital, and we used that and used a bar that was closed that belonged to a buddy of mine. I have a friend that owns a hearse, and we went out and filmed at a graveyard. And this was what's funny about that is that we were filming. He was a little bit late getting there, and so I seen him driving from a group of people across the graveyard, and we shot the video. And I said, "Hey, man, let's go out and get something to eat afterwards." He said, "No, I got to go. I got to go pick up another body." I said, "Another body?" He said, "Yeah, you see those people over there? I was a little bit late because I had to wait till it was over with for us to carry the body out of the back of the hearse. He had just delivered a body. We shot the video that he was going, I'm sitting in the back of the car."
Oh, man.
And so it was funny, man. But, we did whatever we had to do to make it happen. And when I come out with the video on the video release, I put on a platform called iTube 247.
Okay.
And it hit 1.2 in the first 4 weeks, and it's still up in the millions right now. And then of course it's on YouTube. I put it on Facebook video, Facebook Watch. It's on iTunes. It's on all major platforms. But Save Myself really was written about my uncle who passed away from that. And then when I released it during COVID, it resonated with people. I had 2 different people from different groups of suicide prevention reach out and tell me that they wanted to make my song the theme song of their organization.
Wow.
And I mean, the song, that right there was really, outside of it doing these numbers, their strength in numbers, it was the first song that I had that I realized made an impact on people.
Yeah.
So that right there, let's take this number out now. Someone coming up to me telling me that my song helped them.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those moments where you say, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be here. My music is doing, and my music matters.
Okay, so when you do that song, I mean, for you, it's got this very personal, emotional, sentimental meaning to you. Do you still, when you perform that, do you still feel that, or is it now like, because you wrote it so many years ago and it's got so many different meanings now for so many different people? Where does it go for you when you're performing it? Do you still go and think about your uncle, or do you think about the new modern meaning of it?
Well, my dad passed away in October 2023, 4 days before my birthday. That's all right. Thanks. And for like a year, I couldn't even listen to that song because I was in a depressed state from that.
Sure.
So now when I sing that song or listen to it, it takes me there.
Sure.
But it didn't take me to a really depressed place. My father was a great human being, and he's celebrating where he's at, and but still, I think about that, and the song that says, what they say, a picture speaks 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a song can speak so many different words and feelings to people. Different people pick up different vibrations.
Sure.
And so, that song, Save Myself, you can bring me to it's a sad song, but the message for me that I thought is that, no matter where you are, especially watch the video, no matter where you are, decisions you make right now can affect tomorrow, but that means that you can make a different decision and go back.
Yeah.
You could save yourself from a bad situation or something else happening, you could. Not to say that you will or it would, but you could.
You could. So true. So true. So, okay. So as a newbie to the Clayton Q world like myself, I'm a Spotify guy and I go on Spotify, even though I want to say fuck Spotify because they fucked people like my boy Clayton over and any other musical artist. But as I go through the songs, I'm like, damn, where's the new songs?
They're coming.
It's been a
12.
minute.
Just recorded 12. But so we toured so hard last year. We recorded in the studio and toured so hard. And then at the beginning of this year, I thought, okay, I'm going to have 5 or 6 months where I don't have anything. Well, then it come at us harder this year. The first weekend or the second weekend of January, right out the gate. Hey, you guys are playing the Daytona 500. Farm Power Equipment, our sponsored a car. They brought us down there. We played in the infield. And then the week after that, we're playing on a cruise to the Bahamas. You know, that's like, you know, it's whereas the second month of the year was the Daytona 500, and we played to the cruise to the Bahamas, and we're playing cross country, and then we're going to Texas, then we're going back down to Florida, you know, and it started snowballing where we were getting so busy that I wasn't releasing the music, and now I have this great music, but there's a little bit different goal now, and I'm glad that whatever happened kept me from releasing music, because now instead of just releasing these 12 songs, we're producing music videos for these 12 songs. So there's going to be content to go online out with the music simultaneously when they're released.
Okay, so as you say that, now it's going to become my next question, because over the last few years, you know, I've been involved with some bands from Philly that have done this method, and some other artists throughout the music business have done this method, where they start doing, let's drop a song a month and let's put a music video with that. Is that going to be your method to your madness for this? Or are you going to drop a couple
algorithmically, it's a method that tends to work to get your music out to the masses.
Totally.
So if I want you to see it and I put out a song this month, and then 4 or 5 weeks from now I'll put out another song, it's not somebody sitting behind a computer like me or you. This is artificial technology that says, hey, this person released a song last month that a few people liked, and then they released this song. Well, we're just going to naturally push this content to those same people and other people that like the same things that they like. And you get a little bit bigger spectrum. And then you put it out again, and that area grows, because the algorithm is pushing your music, putting it in front of the eyes of the people that are looking at things like their friends are looking at, like their friends are looking at, like their friends are looking at, and so on. And then as you push something out, it's like stacking dominoes. It's just one right after another, and then the line's getting further and it's getting squished. What happens when you put the 2 or 3 shoes in a shoe box? It gets full and it starts falling over. You got to have another box. That's what's happening. So it's a great strategy, and it works for a lot of people, and most likely that's what will happen.
Something like that too for an artist has to excite the hell out of you, because then you have the chance to literally, I mean, think back to when you first came to town. The plan was release an album, 10 to 12 songs, maybe 14 if you could squeeze it in there. And if you're lucky, drop 2 singles, maybe 3 if you have good success with the first 2. Now you can just say, you know what? I'm doing it all. And I'm going to drop every freaking song, and I'm going to give every song that chance to blow up and put a video behind it and make it live. Bring it to life.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. Like it pushes out the life of the song. You know, Morgan Wallen put out 30 songs at once, I think like a month ago or something. I mean,
hey, John Schneider put out 50-something songs. I interviewed him when he did this. 50-something songs at one shot he put out.
Yeah. Sure did.
So, I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, okay, any idea when that's going to start coming out?
Within the next 60 days. Things have already been scheduled within the next 60 days. There was one song that I'm releasing now that I couldn't release before because it was in the hands of producer for a major TV show.
Okay.
a friend of mine, Kevin Palmer, and I, and Randy Russell. We were my guitarist. We
Mhm.
were in the Ozarks around a campfire about 2:30 in the morning a couple years ago, and a tune. We started picking at a tune and writing some lyrics. In about a half hour, we wrote this song about our favorite TV show about this area called the train station. And we produced this song and decided to pitch it to the music supervisor for the show. And I didn't get a yes, but I didn't get a no either.
Mm.
And I have a tracker that shows me each time it's been opened and listened to. And over the course of 30 months, it was listened to like 36 times. So they were listening to it like once or twice a month, probably deciding if they were going to use it in production.
And they were the only ones that had access to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So that TV show has since not necessarily quit production, but they've moved on to other types of productions, other names, so or other series of a different title. So now we're going to make a music video based around that one and release the song. And it's not a country sounding song; it sounds more like a Western soundtrack.
Okay.
So you remember the Dirty Dozen?
Yeah.
The Clint Eastwood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Western theme song. So I can't wait for everyone to hear that. We've got a song that I was fortunate enough to co-write with Billy Ray Cyrus.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, and we recorded that song, and his vocals and my band played the song, and we're planning on releasing that song as well and shooting a music video for that one.
Dude,
Those will come at a later.
I saw a picture of him the other day, and I said, "Oh shit, it's Rob Zombie." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, it's Billy Ray Cyrus."
Yeah, he's developed his style a little bit differently over the years as well, and he's really come into himself. He went from the achy breaky heart mullet guy that people saw him as,
to
really being the artist that he wants to be as a person. And that's what we all want. We all want to be able to express ourselves as who we really want to be.
Sure.
And he's been able to do that now. So
that's got to be so freeing.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, and he's got some good new music coming out too. So
cool. So all right, so within 60 days, we should hopefully have some new Clayton Q music.
Yeah.
Show-wise, do you have shows, any little mini tours, anything, or are you just bouncing around?
We have, let me think. And I'm taking, after this is CMA week, we have a local show here in Nashville, right outside Nashville, Lebanon, Tennessee, this Saturday.
Saturday in Lebanon.
Yeah, Lebanon, Tennessee. And then we're going to have, next week, I'm taking my mama on a little road trip. We're going on a vacation.
Oh, nice.
Time to have some family time. And then the week after that, we're going to be, 2 weeks after that, end of the month, we're going to be up around Toledo, Ohio.
Okay.
The third week of July, third week of July, we'll be in the Panama City Beach area. The 1st of August, the very first day of August, August 1st, I'm playing the Hopkins County, Kentucky Fair, Madisonville, Kentucky. And then as soon as we get done, we're headed back and going straight to the airport. We're flying out at 4:30 in the morning for Sturgis, South Dakota. And that night, August the 2nd, we're playing Sturgis at the Thunderdome.
Nice.
Sticker right here.
There you go.
So we're playing there 2 dates in Sturgis. We'll be there for about a week.
That'll be a blast.
So we have the tour. Used to, we would drive a van everywhere, pull a trailer. Mm-hmm. Then we upgraded to the bus.
Okay.
We're on the third bus now. And now, more times than not, if we aren't driving to the gig, then we're flying there.
It's
We're flying more
probably
now than we are driving.
It's probably cheaper to fly for the most part.
It can be flying commercial. If I can't buy a jet and put my name on the side of it. So we have a bus.
Couple more sponsors, you never know.
Yeah, right. But we're flying quite a bit now. So that's real decent. That's real cool.
Well, look how many of these. What do they call them? Is it like legend artists? They call them, where they do all weekend shots. Fly out Thursday, do Friday, Saturday, back home Sunday.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that do that kind of thing.
Yeah,
stuff. So
seems there's
it depends on how you run it. I mean, there's artists that the whole production and the band rides the bus, the driver drives out there, and then the artist flies in, gets off the plane, goes to the venue, the green room. They prepare all their clothes are in a bunk in a trunk that's inside the trailer that's pulled behind the bus. They bring the clothes in. Artist goes into the green room or his room on the bus. They change. They go out and do the show. As soon as the show's over and he changes in his clothes, they're taking him back to the airport and he's flying back out. A lot of bigger artists do that, and only the bands travel to the next city. So if you got a 3-day drive between New York and Oklahoma or Texas, New York and Texas, then the artist can go play the show in New York, go back home for 2 days with his family, and then fly out on the 4th day to go to the show that this band just drove across country for.
Wow.
And that happens quite a bit. That's a good way to do it.
It's a crazy, crazy business. Two final questions before I let you go.
Okay.
One, and you've dabbled in it throughout the conversation tonight. AI. What's your thoughts on the whole AI thing?
Depends on how you take it. I see it as an opportunity to grow as an artist. I see it as an opportunity to learn more about it and to see how I can use it as a tool for me. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm an independent artist, and for other independent artists out there are people that I've met that don't know they're not in the music. They're like, oh, this AI stuff, it needs to go away or it'll fade out or whatever. Right. I got news for them. It's not going away.
Nah.
Things that AI has been able to generate and do has done 3 times as much in the last 3 years as it's been developing as maybe humans have done in the last 13 years.
Yeah.
In their profession. So if we can learn how to work with it and go along with it and utilize it, we'll all be better off.
It's scary. Like I have been pretty much against it until like literally a week and a half ago when my other half, Coco, who's been very for it, and she's been using it. And I was like, all right, it's time to start getting back into the podcast world. And I had like this other channel and I was working on that. And then I had this channel.
Yeah.
And she was like, ask ChatGPT. She's like, it'll give you answers. I'm like, no. She's like, do it. She's like, I'm serious. Do it. Dude, I sat here one night for like 3-4 hours having a conversation with this fucking thing. And I was blown away. I'll come back to it now every day and I'll ask it a few questions and I go back. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Google was the first generation AI because it took all of the text and printed text on the internet and put it at your fingertips, but we had to sort through it.
Yeah.
AI is a machine with eyes that reads all of the information at once simultaneously. Mm-hmm. So when you ask it a question, it doesn't pop up a million results for you to filter through and see what's true and what's not. Yeah. It pops up everything that's fact checked and factual and 100%, like 99% accurate.
Yeah.
So it's the new generation of Google. That's how I like to think of it.
That's pretty smart. Yeah. That's pretty good. And okay, also too, another thing we touched on throughout the conversation. What's your thoughts on Spotify?
You know, it's a business.
Yeah.
And I don't know the backstory of, or I don't know the backside of how many people are working for Spotify and what the business cost is for the servers to have all that music out there. There's a cost to everything.
Sure.
As far as, I'm a musician and I do this for my career and to eat. So I can understand. I'm always going to say, they need to pay me more money. They need to pay the next guy more money. Everyone needs more.
Sure.
I don't necessarily know or really want to have an input about that, because I know that, in things that I do, there's a cost. And sometimes when I'm paying out, sometimes there's more going out than what's coming in. And I don't know on the other side of Spotify, but it's one of those things that you need. There's so many people that are on it, even though there are artists that are going off of it. I see the artists that are going off of it. I think they can afford to get off of it. But so many people that are on it, I can't say, oh, no, you can't find my music on Spotify because I'm against Spotify. Well, then I'm just going to lose those fans because they're paying $10 a month for it, and they're not going to listen to me on iTunes because they've got a Spotify subscription instead of an iTunes subscription.
Yeah.
So eliminating my fan base. It's just one of those things that you need. It's I can't say, I meet people all the time that say, oh yeah, I play music. No, I don't have a Facebook page. No, I don't have an Instagram page.
Right.
I'm more on the grassroots style. You can buy my album. Like, well, what if I don't have a CD player and I want to listen to your song out in the middle of the desert and get inspired? Then I can't do it, dude.
Yeah.
What if I want to find out where you're playing at? If I don't know where you're playing, I can't Google it. I guess I can, but what if my phone doesn't work or the internet and all you got's Bandzoogle and Reverb Nation and it's not loading up because the HTML's old? What do you do? So it's just one of those things that you have to have.
It is. It really is. It's crazy that, kind of like the podcast world too, where with Spotify, you have your Spotify, your iTunes, and there's probably 20 other outlets. And it's like when I see artists like put them all out, I say to myself, are people really on these outlets? Like I would think to myself, after Spotify and iTunes and YouTube, are they using really any other service?
I see 100 on the DSP platforms. They list 100 things that you can have your music go to. Like, well, if they're going to deliver it to it, you might as well have it on there.
Right.
The might as well thing, you might have a ton of music being delivered to these platforms that no one's listening to, but you really don't know who is and who's not.
Right.
There's a platform that's listened to in like Africa, certain countries of certain divisions of Africa. That's a different type of name. I can't remember it right off the top of my head.
Okay.
But I had 2 or 3 people message me on Facebook saying that they heard my music on this particular app, and I looked and it's on my distro. My distro list where my music was on there. And then I went to the analytics for that one. I had like 170,000 streams in Liberia, Africa, because of this app I didn't even know existed. So it's I think maybe I got paid 9 or 15 cents for that. But it's super cool that was there.
Right.
That those platforms do matter, but it should be up to your own research and discovery to see, where your music's at and what's best for you.
All right. The final question. I'm going to leave it to Dawn.
Okay.
Dawn wants to know, where do you see Clayton years to come? Stadium tours in Philly?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I would love to do a stadium tour in Philly. In fact, I would like to play on the steps of the Rocky statue.
How about that? The next time the Eagles win the Super Bowl next year, Clayton Q. How about that?
Yeah.
We need to have Clayton Q do a song to inspire the next Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles, next year.
Yeah. Yeah, man, most definitely, man. That'd be super awesome. You know, as I did a promo video for my tour and for Country Box from the Rocky statue. And that was super fun. Dawn was a great camera person. She helped me film that.
Absolutely.
But to keep from running up the steps, those. Did you see the video?
Dude, you know what? It's funny because I think you were there like 2 weeks after I was up visiting, and I slowly walked up the steps. And by the time I got to the top, I'm like, so you ran the steps. And I was like, my man.
We were up at the top, and I said, you have to film me like doing this right here. And I said, okay, now you're going to stand here, and I'm going to run up this level of steps. Then we walked down a flight, and I said, okay, now stand over there and film me running up these. So I just ran up them a little bit at a time and made it look like there was different camera angles, but that was like 9 takes. So that's why I wasn't out of breath when I got up to the top, because I was already standing there.
No, you should have told me that off air.
But yeah, man, that was super fun. Big shout out to Don. Hey, all you rockers out there, thanks for having me on your podcast, Ragni. Really love that, man. And it's super, super fun. You ask great questions, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate you, man. Hey, you ever hungry for Moe's? Let me know. Come over, get some food. You're already around the corner.
You got it. Yes, sir.
That's hysterical. That's hysterical. Hang tight when we go off the air when I ask you a question. I don't want to say it on
all
right. Everybody, check him out. Clayton Q. Clayton, where's the best place to go? Is it the website or?
ClaytonQ.com is the basis. You can find me at Clayton Q, just like right here on my, let's see, where's it? Right there, Clayton Q. You can find me just like that on all social media platforms.
Boom. There you go. Do it. Social media, all the music streaming outlets. He's there within hopefully 60 days, new music, and let's blow this fucking world up and make it a Clayton Q.
Let's do it.
All right, brother. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, babe.